Happy Wednesday, everybody. People still call it hump day. Is that still a thing? Can I say hump day? Happy hump day?
Yeah.
All right. Happy hump day. Most traded player? Anyone? Any guesses?
Most traded player. Raheem Mostert.
Incorrect. He's on IR. Justin Jefferson, the most traded player.
For Calvin Ridley?
I don't really like the most traded list. It's a little boring at the top. Justin Jefferson, James Cook, Jerome Ford. Ugh. Whatever. Mixon. Ugh. We're going to talk about some buy low, maybe buy low running backs, or are they just going to be busts? Because most of the running backs have been a little disappointing at the high end, right? So Bijan Robinson, Austin Ekeler, Aaron Jones, who said, he had a quote, he was talking to the media, said, I'm not 100%. I'm hoping to get back to 100%. So we'll talk about them. Josh Jacobs, is he a buy low? And a couple more options there as well. Now, look, if they're really going to bounce back, now's your opportunity to get them. Anyway, the whole gang is here today. 6 days until Halloween. Somebody asked if we have Halloween costumes. Heath, I'm curious. Are you ready to reveal your tandem costume?
I think that I will reveal it on the show on Sunday.
Okay. Like you're going to wear it?
Maybe. Yes.
Right.
No, I'll commit to it. Yes.
The guy who purposely turns out the lights in his house on Halloween so he doesn't have to answer the door is going to get dressed up for Halloween on our podcast.
I get dressed up for Halloween every year, and I turn the lights out every year. I celebrate Halloween for me. I'm just not giving everybody else free candy.
Okay.
I just don't like. Why wouldn't you at least leave a basket outside with candy?
Because you know what happens to the basket of free candy. A kid who's like me is going to come along and take the whole thing.
No, because I have a walkway to my front door that's along kind of the side of part of my house. And if anybody walks on that walkway, my dog goes bananas. And so it would be torture to the dog to have kids going up and down the walkway all night long.
Okay, that's sort of fair. Plus, you don't want to give out bananas. I also think you'd do it even if you didn't have the dog. All right, favorite buy low, favorite sell high. Jamie, why don't you start? Who's your favorite buy low?
Favorite buy low, you mentioned him, Austin Ekeler. I think there's still better days ahead, and he's obviously been terrible. I hope his other ankle is healthy, but he's got 2 bad ankles right now, at least, not at 100%. But we know what he's capable of doing. And while his age is a concern, and maybe the offense is not going to be as favorable to him because Kellen Moore's system might not be the best for what Austin Ekeler was doing in the last couple of years, he still has the potential to be a top 5 running back. So if you can get him cheap, I would look to explore that and try and get him for as little as you possibly can.
Absolutely shocking yesterday looking at the running back target rates. The Chargers have the lowest running back target rate in the NFL. Now, in the 3 games that Eckler's played, they're something like 24th. They're not last, but still, that is mind-boggling. So we need that part of his game to come back. All right, we'll focus a little bit more on Ekeler and all those struggling running backs a little bit later, but Jamie's going to say Ekeler. Dave, who's your favorite buy low?
I like trying to buy low on Deebo Samuel, but it's for fantasy managers who think they've got a path to the playoffs. They're 5-2, they're 6-1, they're 7-0, and they want to bolster their team by getting a receiver who has contributed quite well when he's been healthy. First 3 games of the year, he's averaged almost 20 PPR points per game. When he comes back, should be an integral part of what the 49ers are doing, and you should be able to get him pretty cheap both now and next week when he doesn't play. And then the week after that, he's got to buy. So that buy low window for Deebo, many, many weeks open. That makes sense.
Austin Ekeler, Deebo Samuel, and Heath, you're up.
So Ekeler was my first choice. I think he's the best buy low. My second choice is Garrett Wilson. I said a couple of weeks ago that I was going to go make an offer for Breece Hall in every league that I was in. I'm going to try to do that today if I can find the time for Garrett Wilson. You look at the schedule that they played the first 2 months, month and a half of the season. The Bills back before everybody got hurt, the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Then you look at the schedule for the next month and a half. The Giants, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Bills after everybody got hurt. I really think, and especially the way that Zach Wilson is just like hyper focused on Garrett Wilson everywhere, really, but especially in the red zone. I think 57% of his red zone targets have gone to Garrett Wilson this season. I really think a borderline number 1 season from this point on is still possible.
Top 7 in the short-term projected strength of schedule. Top 12 rest of season projected strength of schedule.
Excellent. Garrett Wilson. And you can find that projected strength of schedule on Sportsline, sportsline.com. Use promo code Richard or Heath or Gibbs, I believe is one of them.
No.
But not Baked Burger. $1 for your first month. Let's go to our favorite sell high. We'll go in reverse order here. Heath, Dave, Jamie. Go ahead, Heath.
I think it's probably Jahmyr Gibbs, and you might wait a week to do it because he's going to have such a monster performance against the Raiders. I think that makes it more difficult, though, if we get to Tuesday or Wednesday and he's had that monster performance, and then we start hearing David Montgomery's practicing. David Montgomery's coming back this week. I certainly know there's some leagues that are savvy enough where most of the fantasy managers know this, but we talked about it. I don't think there is anything that Jahmyr Gibbs can do that's going to change the fact that David Montgomery is going to be the hammer when he's back.
And furthermore, anything that he can do, do you think that David Montgomery will be better than Gibbs in fantasy when he comes back? And by the way, Heath, after this game against Vegas, they have a bye. So that's, it's going to be very hard to trade Gibbs after this week. Going into a bye with Montgomery, I would say pretty likely back after that. But do you think Montgomery will be the better fantasy back after this week?
I would still take David Montgomery, but I also think it's pretty close to a coin flip in full PPR. I think they're both number 2 running backs.
All right. Dave, who's your favorite sell high?
Weekly reminder, sell high doesn't mean get rid of the guy for whatever you can. It means sell high on him if the opportunity presents itself. I'm sure Heath would tell you that he would not take a crappy bench player for Jahmyr Gibbs. I would try and sell high on Darren Waller, who's coming off of a big game. 15-plus PPR points in 2 of his past 3. That's with Tyrod Taylor helping him out. Daniel Jones has not helped him out. Jones is coming back soon. Other receivers have been established in the Giants offense. I'm only trading Darren Waller if I can get something really good for him. Some of the names that I gave out on CBS Sports HQ, James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Kirk. Let's add one more, Garrett Wilson. These are kind of pie in the sky type of players that you'd want to get in return for Darren Waller, but those are the types of players that I'd love to get in exchange for him. That would make me be willing to go and stream tight ends after getting rid of Waller.
Well, this is such a good week to do that if you can, because you've got the Dalton Kincaid. Here we go. You got the Trey McBride now with no Zach Ertz. Like it's tight ends looking okay.
And Jamie also pointed this out on HQ when we talked about Waller. And this is a good point. Get the other tight end first before you make the trade. So go and grab Kincaid, grab McBride. I bet McBride is still out there in a ton of leagues. Get one of those 2 guys and then trade Waller. If you're going to trade Waller. I'm not saying get rid of him for anything, but if you can get something really good that helps your team at a different spot, go for it.
Oh, we got a comment in the chat from Seabass. Traded Waller for Marquise Brown.
See, I think that this isn't enough for Waller.
Why? I don't like Marquise Brown's had a pretty good year. Hopefully Kyler Murray back pretty soon. And Waller has had 4 pretty games, 3 big games. Is that really different than Marquise Brown? Are they really different at their positions? I don't think this is so bad, especially if you buy into Kyler.
They're extremely different for what they mean to their positions.
Mm-hmm.
When Waller is good at his position, you have a difference maker. When Brown is good at his position, you have a borderline starter.
Right. Low end wide receiver too.
Do you feel like Marquise Brown is going to be more than that? Because he was a top 5 wide receiver last year when Kyler was healthy and Hopkins wasn't there.
No, I think they're asking Kyler to do a little bit too much coming back from his ACL tear.
Now, I will tell you that if you buy into that, Adam, then Marquise Brown is a tremendous buy low because he's had 2 games where he hasn't been good with Josh Dobbs. And eventually Kyler comes back and you're hoping for some of that wide receiver 1 magic.
Yeah, I don't hate that trade. I don't think it's a win, but I think it's fine.
Okay. By the way, Trey McBride is 12% rostered. And Zach Ertz is on IR, so he's out at least 4 games. McBride showed a little something at the end of last year. He was playing almost every snap, I believe, at the end of last year. And he's gotten more involved the last 2 weeks. Very talented player. Top 12 tight end this week, Trey McBride?
Not this week.
Not against Baltimore, but certainly somebody that you want to roster if you can carry 2 tight ends.
I think he's a top 12 tight end after this week. He's second in yards per route run amongst all tight ends with at least 20 targets. He's 4th in targets per route run amongst all tight ends with at least 20 targets. He, Travis Kelce, and Sam Laporta are the only tight ends who are top 5 in both of those metrics.
It's
wow.
amazing. Baltimore, Cleveland, Atlanta, next 3 matchups for him.
Yeah, it's good defenses.
Yeah,
Although Atlanta struggles against tight ends.
sure.
All right, so we've got Ekeler, Deebo, and Garrett Wilson for Jamie, Dave, Heath, respectively, as buy lows. Sell high, Jahmyr, Gibbs, Darren, Waller for Heath and Dave. Jamie, who are you selling high on?
I'd be trading Derrick Henry as much as I can this week if you have the ability to do so. Coming off a big game against Baltimore last time we saw him, and there's the potential of him getting traded, and it may not be to a situation where he's still as much of a focal point as he typically is. Now, granted, he hasn't been that guy for the most part this season because they've used Tajay Sharp, but who knows if a team adds him, takes some time for him to get adjusted, and it might not be as favorable a situation. I say that in context because clearly the situation's not been great this year, but we know what Henry typically is. But if you can get something still great in return for Henry, I would be doing it.
Yeah, and let's talk about the NFL trade deadline and players that maybe you should either be stashing right now or anticipating a big boost. Like if Tajay Spears is available, that's an obvious one. Is there anyone else, guys, that you think could have a big boost in value after the trade deadline, which is on Halloween this year?
Just of the potential rumors that are out there, we talked about this, I believe, on Tuesday, Adam, when you said Marvin Mims.
Yep.
So if Judy or Sutton gets traded, most likely Judy at this point, then it would be hopefully a boost for Mims. I would hate to see Sean Payton do Sean Payton things and make little Jordan Humphrey his
Brandon Johnson.
right. Guys that he's familiar with just stepping up and not giving a young talented player who he drafted, by the way, was part of this regime. So yeah, those are really the two that stand out right now. There will potentially be a surprise trade that we're not expecting. Probably most of the trades will be minor ones. But if Derrick Henry is traded, that's obviously a blockbuster that would open the door for Tajay Spears to hopefully be a starting fantasy running back.
Hey, what about DeAndre Hopkins? Same team as Derrick Henry, someone who the Titans aren't tied to. Teams could be certainly in the market for a perimeter receiver, and he's not slow. He's looking good when he plays.
There was a report yesterday or the day before, of course I don't remember who it was from, that they are shopping Hopkins actively and getting no response.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Oh, don't make me hit that. I've got too many things queued up on the mixer here. Oh, fine, Heath. We'll get the squeaky crickets. There they are. Okay, crickets for him. And also, just in reference to the trade deadline being on Halloween. Just scary music for you.
What a face.
Yeah. I just cannot wait for Halloween. Everything needs to be done by 4:00. All right. Once the trick-or-treating...
The trade deadline is 4:00 Eastern.
I know, but we can't have anything trickling in late.
What's the day? What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Oh, we might get some waiver wire bargains that week.
Yeah. Well,
People are going to miss you might miss the waiver wire.
Yeah. Waiver wire. All right. Yeah. I'm still hopeful for Jerry Jeudy. Playing 65% of his snaps in the slot. If the team trades for him, just put him out wide more, please. Okay. Oh, someone's drink. What was that?
That was me. Sorry.
That was not from my mixer.
I finished my coffee.
All right. The very good game last night. If you missed it, you want to read about it, check out the CBS Sports app. And I could be talking about that Golden State Phoenix game. That was also a good game. But congratulations to the Arizona Diamondbacks on their way to the World Series to face the Texas Rangers. And about 300,000 people will be watching that. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be watching it. Hopefully it gets the buzz it deserves. Two really exciting teams who were terrible last year and have changed their fortunes so quickly. Good for them. But you listen, you watch the podcast, you love sports, you're into the World Series. Basketball has started. Hockey has started. Football is in full swing. Follow it all on the CBS Sports app. If you made your bets, follow it all on the CBS Sports app. It is the best way to follow live sports. You can watch live sports on the CBS Sports app. You can get your breaking news from the app, and it's totally free. iPhone, Android. You are going to love it. This is your way to keep your finger on the pulse of every game that matters. Download the CBS Sports app right now. Quick news and notes. I saw an interview with Aaron Jones. I was referencing this earlier, and I think he looks like the nicest guy in the world. I just want to say that. Would love to meet Aaron Jones. Let's make that happen. Let's get him on the show. But he just openly said he's not 100%. He wasn't 100% in week 7, and he hopes to be getting there in the coming weeks. So nothing specific, but he said, I wasn't 100%. I was happy to be out there. I know you were all really frustrated by it, but that's what we're dealing with right now with Aaron Jones. Ryan Tannehill not looking great for this week with the high ankle sprain. Will Levis is expected to start, but both Will Levis and Malik Willis are expected to play against the Falcons. More reason to pick up the Falcons DST. Treylon Burks could be back this week for the Titans. Frank Reich said the Panthers backfield, Jamie, will be a little bit by committee. What do you think?
It'll be a little bit like avoiding. It's we got one good game out of Chuba Hubbard when Miles Sanders didn't play. We've had a couple of decent performances from Miles Sanders earlier in the season when he was healthy. It's just not a very good team right now. So at best, you're talking about flex options for Sanders and Hubbard, with Sanders still the preferred option, but barely.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. Miles Sanders was on waivers yesterday in one of my leagues. And I was like, do I want Amari DiMercado or do I want Miles Sanders?
Oh, wow.
And I went with Miles Sanders, and I had like the 8th or 9th priority, and I got him.
In my guillotine league last week, somebody dropped him, and typically we don't see players like that dropped because it's you're just trying to make sure you get points. And clearly, if he's right, he's going to be on somebody's team. And so the way that league works is it's fab and then first come first serve. And it was like 3 days he sat there, and I was like, you know what? I have enough receiver depth. I'm going to drop Josh Reynolds and just pick up Miles Sanders because I'm down Kyron Williams and I'm down Roshan Johnson. So I was like, it just feels icky.
You do it. You have to do it. I mean, that contract, it's this contract that like keeps me with a little bit of hope for Miles Sanders. They got to get something out of him, right?
Where does he rank in terms of biggest busts this year?
He wasn't really going that early, was he?
4th round?
Who's a bigger bust, Dameon Pierce or Miles Sanders?
Pierce is a bigger bust because he's been healthy.
Yep. True. Yeah, they're busts.
Najee?
Yeah. Yikes. Juwan Johnson expected to play this week for the Saints. Deshaun Watson's MRI showed no additional damage to his shoulder, according to Tom Pelissero. But there is still a chance that he goes on IR. Just it has not been ruled out. Wide receiver Marvin Jones for the Lions. He's stepping away to tend to personal family matters. We hope everything's okay with Marvin Jones. Wishing him the best. I know this isn't usually a note that I would give, but Buffalo tight end Quinton Morris missed practice again. They're playing tomorrow, and that's maybe another target or two for Dalton Kincaid. Zach Ertz is on IR as mentioned, and Heath gave a great reason to add Trey McBride, who is 12% rostered. And Denver's going to be without safety Kareem Jackson for 2 games. He was suspended for 4 games for a hit that wouldn't have warranted a suspension, I don't think, if he hadn't had some prior incidents, but it was reduced to 2 games. They get the Chiefs this week. We'll take a break. When we come back, let's focus on those struggling running backs. Cases for and against Ekeler, Aaron Jones, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and try to throw Joe Mixon in there. And I even want to talk about Rachaad White. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. I know if you're not watching on YouTube, you have no idea what the promo that just played, but it always does. Put me up. I always get pretty fired up for that promo. All right. Struggling running backs. So the group that I wanted to focus on was Ekeler, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs. I'll say we'll throw Joe Mixon in there. And I was going to mention Rachaad White kind of separately, just because I think it's worth mentioning that his schedule has just been an absolute beast. But if we look at those top 5, Ekeler, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, let's rank them. Heath, you want to start? Rank those. You want me to start? I could do it.
I think I can start if you wanted me to.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think Bijan's going to be at the top of the list. I know everybody's sour on him because of what happened last week, but we know I don't even know if the upside has been realized yet with him. And then I have to say that I'm not sure if the upside will ever be realized this year because of how he's using that offense. But that being said, he's had a number of really good games, and I can't help but think that he'll be good to go as an RB1 rest of season. So he's my highest ranked guy of that group. Ekeler is second, but it's a lot more that almost feels more like a wish than anything else because he did not look good. I hated how they used him last week. If he has a bad game against Chicago, I almost wonder if the conversation changes entirely with Austin Ekeler. He hasn't really played a lot this year, but when he's played, 3 explosive plays, rushing and receiving combined. So that's something that kind of troubles me. I think Jacobs is the name you gave. He's next on the list for me. And then Jones and Mixon. Do I have enough confidence in Jones to put him over Mixon? I don't like hearing that Jones says that he's not at 100%. When's he not going to be 100%? And his workload last week explains why the coaches were hesitant to use him and why they rolled with A.J. Dillon a little bit more. But Mixon's been so bad, and I just don't know when he's going to be able to deliver. I mean, I'll take 16 PPR points from Mixon and go have a parade in the street for him.
Oh yeah,
he hasn't come close to that. 13.5 is his high so far this year. But if he's healthy and Jones isn't, then I got to put Mixon ahead of Jones.
Mixon. All right, so Dave goes Bijan, Ekeler, Jacobs, Mixon, Aaron Jones. Who's next? Who's got next?
Ekeler, Bijan, Jacobs, Jones, Mixon.
Yeah. All right. A little different there. Heath, you're going the same thing. Ekeler over Bijan.
I'm definitely going with Ekeler over Bijan. I've actually got Jones ahead of Mixon. Yeah, Jacobs, Jones, and Mixon, I think, are basically all about the same for me. They're all 3 RB2s. But Ekeler and Bijan clearly ahead of those 3.
So who do you think of this group are you're enthusiastic about for the second half of the season, if any?
Ekeler and Bijan.
Still Jacobs and Jones too.
Okay, very different takes here. So Dave, you're a little hesitant with Ekeler. So and I get it. You got 2 ankle injuries. Hopefully, like I was worried about Kelsey a few weeks ago. Okay, it was obvious that Kelsey wasn't himself. His stats indicated it. He was doing nothing after the catch. But I do think that with these types of injuries, I think a lot of times guys get healthy. It takes 3 to 4 weeks, maybe something like that. Heath, didn't you say something about a Twitter doctor? Oh, you said something about Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Oh, he was supposed to be part of this segment. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I knew I forgot someone. Pollard absolutely should be in this segment. Can we throw Pollard in there?
Ekeler,
yep.
Bijan, Pollard, Jacobs, Jones, Mixon.
Yeah, he is in the gap between Ekeler and Bijan and the other 3.
For right now, he's behind Ekeler for me. Next week could be ahead of everybody.
But yeah, Pollard's got that ankle. You said, what did you say, Heath? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
It was basically just that I can't remember what the name of that surgery is that he had done on his ankle, but it has just sapped some of his burst. It is, and it wasn't an optimistic one about that coming back.
Was it the tightrope?
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Because I've come to learn that the tightrope surgery is actually like a good thing, but maybe it varies from player to player. Who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, like he has not looked right exactly.
No.
And I don't even think he's a top 15 running back, Tony Pollard, on a per game basis.
He is. He's 11th.
Per game?
Yep.
Oh, maybe in full PPR. He has a lot of catches. Now, Jacobs is interesting. And Heath, you've really soured on him, it seems, but he's per game. He's 20th in PPR, 25th in non-PPR. He's averaging 2.9 yards per carry, but he has the 3rd most carries, the most targets, and the 2nd most catches among running backs. So, I mean, I just gave you a reason to be disgusted, but a reason to be optimistic as well. But you're not there yet with Jacobs.
I am. Yeah, I'm disgusted.
You're not optimistic.
And I don't necessarily think that the bad rushing average has a whole lot to do with Josh Jacobs. Like, he's not been as good as he was last year, but the offensive line's just been absolutely awful. And I just don't have a lot of reason for optimism. In fact, I think with this Raiders team, they've probably been more competitive the first 7 weeks of the season than I would expect them to be the second half of the season. So I think he'll be an RB2. He'll probably be a little bit better than what he's been so far. I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 3.5 yards per carry, but I'm not optimistic we're getting a top 12 running back at all this year.
Jamie, you expressed some optimism, I think, for Josh Jacobs. And let me ask you about some of the guys who have really emerged. You got Mostert, who's a top 5 running back. Achane, who I think is number 2 per game. Let's see. DeAndre Swift is one of them. I might be missing somebody. But would you take Jacobs over Pacheco? Sure. How many of those guys would you take Josh Jacobs over? The Dolphins running backs, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, and Pacheco, sorry.
I would take him over Mostert when Achane is back. I would take him over Pacheco. I would take Swift over him. Did you say somebody else? I'm sorry.
Well, would you take him over Achane when Achane is back?
No, I would take Achane over Jacobs if he comes back and is 100%.
All right.
With the uncertainty of it, I would take Jacobs.
Okay. Do you guys think that Bijan...
I still think, look, he's played 2 games without Jimmy Garoppolo. Who knows how many more he'll miss with Garoppolo, but, taking the quarterback out of the equation. I think there's still a lot to like about Jacobs moving forward. He has 0 competition.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the biggest sell.
Touchdown. Like he bobbled a touchdown. I wonder what the perception would be if he had caught that ball. It was ruled a touchdown.
But I don't know why we should expect him to do that. He has literally never done that.
Well, he did it. It just, he
has like 150 career receptions and 0 receiving. He's Jacoby Myers.
By the way, just on a side note, most carries this year without a touchdown. Anybody know who has the most carries? Bijan is second. Only one running back has more carries this year without a rushing touchdown. I'm not gonna call him a buy low though. It's Alexander Madison. It's the most carries.
Yes.
So do you guys think Bijan and Ekeler will be league winners?
Yes.
I'm cringing at that term, and I used it this week myself. I think that they've got the potential to be. I think Bijan will be. I'm a little nervous about Ekeler. I didn't like what I saw last week. And it's not just the ankle thing and the lack of explosiveness, the play calling. They ran him between the tackles so often.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't use him in the passing game. The offensive line isn't that good. He's not exploding, figuratively, not literally. I'm worried about Ekeler not being right. It sounds like he had a high ankle sprain early on in the year. He already missed a chunk of games because of that. Are they rushing him back a little bit? Could he be okay by week 10, week 11? Maybe. I hope. I don't want to get him off my team. I'm not saying to trade him away unless someone's going to give you a king's ransom for him. Then I would. But I also don't want to say that he's a buy low unless you're getting him for peanuts.
I mean, no one's going to give you Ekeler for peanuts, but they could give you Ekeler for Mostert. Would you take Ekeler for Mostert?
Oh yeah,
I think I would for sure, because Mostert's got an Achane problem.
What about Swift? What about DeAndre Swift? What about Travis Etienne?
Yeah, I'll hold him. I'll keep him over those. Etienne, I'll take for him.
Wait, sorry, I'm confused. You'd rather have Etienne or
I'd
Ekeler?
rather have Etienne than Ekeler.
Rather have Swift or Ekeler?
Ekeler.
Anybody taking Swift over Ekeler?
No.
Swift or Pollard?
Pollard.
Tony.
Flip a coin.
Okay. I'm not very good at flipping coins. I can't really do it. I think I just
How
have to.
can you not flip a coin?
I would assume your thumb's not strong enough.
That might be it. I have really bad coordination and motor skills. This is a true story, actually. They wanted to hold me back in kindergarten because my fine motor skills were so bad. I couldn't cut and paste, basically. Yeah.
Dan's going to kill you.
They didn't hold me back. He hasn't killed me for blowing out my rib cage from coughing. He's going
to kill you in your competition.
Oh. No, he's not. I don't need motor skills to beat Dan. All right. Oh, Rashad White, I just wanted to mention if anybody is at all enthused about him, the schedule he has played has just been really brutal. He did have the 6 catches last week against Buffalo and Houston. It's not like a super easy schedule because he has Tennessee and San Francisco, but there are some good matchups coming up for him. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in his next, I think, 8 games that rank 22nd or worse against running backs. So we don't talk a lot about Rashad White, but
Tennessee might not be a good matchup by the time that happens too.
Might not be. Yeah, that's in 3 weeks.
He's a borderline number 2 running back.
I don't even know if he's that high.
I think if you are trying to get somebody cheap that has the potential to work his way into a top 20 player, I don't think he's going to be a league winner, but that's the type of guy that could do it.
He could be a league loser though, because he's not a good runner at all. The interior offensive line isn't good. He's dancing on pretty much every single carry he gets. He's running right up the middle. I don't like him in the matchup against Buffalo, for example, this week, because Buffalo's really good at stopping running backs up the gut. You're hoping that he continues to put up season highs in catches and yards. He had a career high in receiving yards last week. I can't get interested in him. And for whatever it's worth, Chase Edmonds is coming back. He might take a little bit of work away from him. He hasn't been good. I wouldn't want to get him on.
He definitely has not been good, but if he's going to be involved in the pass game, that's his best asset. So,
but he might not be, because the one thing that Chase Edmonds has been okay at is being a pass catcher out of the backfield.
Yeah, but I mean, that still could be 3 weeks from now.
It could. Well, yeah. I mean, he's practicing. I wouldn't give up. If you're trading for Rachaad White, please don't give up that much.
Hey, if anybody in the chat has any questions about the running backs we just talked about, please fire away. This is a little bit off topic, but not really. But Mark Bacon says, I think Travis Etienne is a sell high. I want to get your thoughts on that. I mean, the guy has 6 touchdowns in his last 3 games. I think he's averaging 4 yards per carry this year.
He has more multiple touchdown games than Trevor Lawrence.
That's great.
Does anybody feel that way about Etienne, that he's a sell high?
I think if you could turn Etienne, look, I mean, if Etienne for Ekeler is on the table, you have to consider it. And I think most people would probably take Ekeler. I think if you could turn Etienne into Bijan, not a bad way to go. So you're looking at somebody who's been awesome and should continue to be great. I mean, this isn't, again, he's going to struggle, but if you can get somebody that has the potential to be slightly better, because he has been touchdown dependent. So that's the one thing you want to be a little bit concerned about.
I think the question with him is, is Trevor Lawrence going to solve the red zone, or Doug Peterson or whoever needs to solve it, the red zone issues for the passing game? Or are they going to lean into the fact that they're pretty good running the ball in there, and that's how they're going to score a lot of their touchdowns?
I think
that's we saw last year. Detroit just scored a lot of their touchdowns from inside the 5 running the ball. That's what Jacksonville is doing so far. And they've got
to getting there, right? They're not even getting to the red zone. They're like Etienne scoring from 20 yards out a lot.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, they are not passing the ball in the red zone. They are not.
The other thing you could look at is the schedule for Jacksonville. It's projected to be bottom 6 rest of season, bottom 3 for the next 4 weeks. It's tough, but he just had a tough matchup against New Orleans on a short week, and he spiked them in a big way. I'm not trading Travis Etienne for almost anything. It's got to be like a solid package, and he's averaging almost 22 touches per game. He's being used the way that we want our elite running backs to be used.
Yes.
And he's scoring a ton. Who cares if it's if he scores 1 touchdown every other game for the rest of the season and he's still getting 22 touches, he's still going to be a great fantasy running back.
Yeah. But would you do this? Would you trade? This is not about him. This is Ekeler for Kamara. Who would you guys rather have, Ekeler or Kamara?
Kamara.
Yeah, I've got Kamara 1 spot higher, but I don't like. It seems like a really weird trade to me. You're just trading one old running back for another old running back. They had the same, similar upside, similar risks.
Pollard or Barkley?
One of them's got check down Carr throwing to him. I will take Saquon rest of season.
I'll take Pollard.
I'll take Saquon.
I think there was one more question here. How about this? James Cook or Jonathan Taylor? I don't know if that's a rest of season or not, but
it's
Taylor.
It doesn't matter. It's Taylor.
Okay. Yeah, I think let me throw Taylor in there. Like, how do you rank him with Ekeler, with Bijan? Like, stop me when Taylor needs to be ranked. Bijan, Ekeler, Pollard.
Nope. Go back.
He's in this mix for
right
me.
There. He's ahead of Pollard.
I think he might be better than Ekeler rest of season. He looks good. That offense can run. I think he'll lead the way in touches from here on out. I think he's back to being an RB1.
Okay. Jamie, I shared one of your dad jokes with a friend of mine, and I got a very funny response. Can I tell it on the air? Your dad joke that you sent me?
It's not mine. I mean, I just copy and paste it from someplace.
Right. Okay, wait. So it was this one's really more visual, but it says, me, I'm terrified of random letters. Therapist. You are? Me. Screams. Therapist. Oh, I see. Me. Screams intensifies. I thought that was hilarious. So I said that to a therapist friend of mine, and I said, now you do a football joke. And he said, he found this on Google. He said, a Giants fan is at a bar with his dog, who is also a Giants fan. When the Giants make a field goal, the dog walks down the bar and high fives everyone. After another field goal, the dog again high fives everyone in the bar. The bartender asks the man what he would do if they score a touchdown. And the man replies, I don't know. I've only had him for 3 years. All right, let's Dave, we got a game tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football. Tampa Bay's at Buffalo. All right, this could be good for Rachaad White. A running back has 3 or more catches against the Bills in every game this season. They've allowed 36 or more receiving points. They've allowed 36 or more receiving yards to 4 running backs: Jacobs, Mostert, Etienne, and Ramondre Stevenson. They do struggle a little bit. They struggle a little bit against running backs just in general. But Dave, you said you're not optimistic about Rachaad White.
Rachaad White has run up the gut on 59% of his runs this season, over 90% of his runs last week. They are not being creative with him in the run game whatsoever. And while Buffalo ranks poorly in yards per carry allowed at 4.9 for the season, they're giving up just 3.1 yards per carry to running backs up the middle. So that's the one area that Rachaad White is usually used, and he's going to struggle with it. And against the pass, the Bills are holding running backs to 72% catch rate. 5th worst in yards per catch given up to running backs, 8.4, but they're trending in the right direction over the past 2 games against the Giants and Patriots, 5.6 yards per catch. I think they're getting a little bit better at defending running backs is what I'm trying to say. And White isn't exactly the most impossible running back to deal with. If you start him, you're hoping that he gets 5 catches, not 3. You're hoping he gets 50 yards, not 30 or 38 or whatever you said. And then you also have to hope that he somehow finds the end zone, which he's been nearly allergic to all year. I would try and sit Rachaad White.
Anyone disagree with that?
I don't disagree with sitting him, but I'm a little bit more optimistic if he's going to be involved in the passing game. But there's no certainty that that's the case, that he will have more than the 3 catches he's basically gotten every game so far this year. So if last week was a sign of things to come, then you'll be excited about Rachaad White. If not, you're going to be probably disappointed because it just the body of work has not been there with Baker Mayfield. But I do hope that they saw something that they could build off of, because that's what's going to make him a better fantasy asset.
Yeah, I don't like, there might be some things in terms of yards per carry that the Bills have done better against running backs, but they've just been destroyed by them lately. Like I think he's a low end number 2, a borderline number 2. I'd like to have somebody else I could start, but they gave up 6 catches last week to the Patriots running backs and a touchdown.
They did, but the yards per carry is much better over their last 2 games. Now, it's against the Giants and the Patriots, 2 teams with pretty mediocre offensive lines, and I'm being nice. It's 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, not mediocre.
2.71 yards after contact, 7 missed tackles. That's over the last 2 games combined. I think they're trending in the right direction.
If you're counting on Rachaad White for his rushing numbers, you're making a mistake.
There you go. Now, he does get a lot of touches. He's one of those running backs that get you somewhere between 16 and 20 touches every week. But you know what the production has been for fantasy, and it hasn't been good.
All right, let's move on from Rachaad White. Let me just ask a few comparisons here. Dameon Pierce has a great matchup at Carolina. Would you start Dameon Pierce or Rachaad White?
Pierce.
Yeah, I'd start Rachaad White. I'm not even sure that Dameon Pierce is going to be the best running back on his own team.
Exactly. If I knew that Pierce was going to be the lead back and they'd come out of the bye and make him the guy, I'd say, okay, why not? And Pierce would be the starter over White. Maybe in non-PPR, you could still do it, but in full PPR, I got to go White there.
Would you start Zach Moss against the Saints or Rachaad White?
White.
All right. Heath, Moss or White?
Yeah, probably White.
All right. Baker Mayfield, we're sitting, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Buffalo, second best against quarterbacks. But they're just actually, they give up a lot of yards. They don't give up a lot of touchdowns. But sit Baker Mayfield. Rachaad White, we talked about. So is Mike Evans an easy start for you guys?
Yes.
Yep.
What about Chris Godwin? trying to diagnose what the heck is going on with Chris Godwin. He's just like, he's been fine. 6 catches for 66 yards. He's double-digit PPR points in 5 of 6 games, but only one time more than 13.7 PPR points, and that was when Mike Evans left with an injury. I got to say, like, it is, in my opinion, a lot of it's on Baker Mayfield. They have a terrible connection. Maybe it's on Godwin's routes. I don't know. But he has about 20% of his targets have been inaccurate. And he's had 5 end zone targets, and I watched them all. And I would say that 5 of them were uncatchable. If maybe 4, maybe you give him 1. But he has had a lot of opportunities just left on the field. I mean, there were at least 2 in the game last week, and Baker Mayfield is just missing Godwin over and over again. It gives me some hope that he can do more with the targets, but I don't know. Heath, go ahead. You wanted to get in there?
Yeah, I think we need to put it in context. Like, he's got a 67% catch rate, so he's not missing him that often. That's a pretty, like, maybe we're saying he should be catching 80% of his targets.
Look, no matter what, there's going to be some inaccurate passes, no matter who the
going right. What's going on with Chris Godwin is the same thing that went on. That's different because he's not coming off an injury, but the first half of last year, he doesn't have any touchdowns. He's averaging 55 yards a game. He was at 60 yards, 63, 64 in the past. Like, he's like 5 to 10 yards off what he normally does. He's just not scored any touchdowns.
But that's what I wanted to highlight, because those 5 end zone throws have been awful to Chris Godwin. And he could have had, I would say, 3 touchdowns maybe. But, I don't know if that matters to anyone, but Baker just keeps missing him in the end zone. At least he's throwing to him in the end zone. I mean, 5 end zone targets is pretty good in 6 games. But anyway, what'd you say?
He's a number 3 wide receiver.
Godwin or Rachaad White?
Godwin.
I will also take Godwin. Yep. I'll take White. Will I take White non-PPR? I don't know. I think I might take Godwin in both.
Godwin or Gabe Davis in this game?
Godwin
if it's PPR.
I would take Gabe and non there, but Godwin if any catches count for anything.
How about this? Josh Allen, in his last 2 games, he is come on, where is this damn stat? I'm sorry. Oh, he's 2 for 13 for 56 yards on pass attempts of 20 or more air yards. Is there an injury there? Was there an injury?
There was an injury to the shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. So that might be affecting him right now. And
there also was a terrible win last week against the Patriots.
Fair enough. And the last 2 games have been the Giants and the Patriots. Those teams are great defending the deep ball, actually. Tampa Bay is kind of middle of the pack. They do give up big plays. So how do we feel about Gabe Davis this week? We'll get back to James Cook in a second, but you're starting Allen, you're starting Diggs. How do we feel about Gabe Davis?
He's Gabe Davis.
As Sean McDermott said this offseason about the questions related to Josh Allen over the last several years about will he run more, he said, just play the tape. I'm going to say the same thing every week. Just play the tape on Gabe Davis. It's going to be the same thing every week. Boom bust number 3 receiver.
That's what he is.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
He doesn't have a matchup that will deter you from using him, nor should it deter the Bills from taking shots at him.
I don't think it's that frustrating. Like, he's your wide receiver 3. Some weeks he's going to give you a great week. Some weeks he's going to be a bad wide receiver 3.
Yeah. But if there's any way to predict it, I mean, I think you could look at teams that struggle against the deep ball, and the Bucs, I would say, like I said, middle of the pack. But also this whole thing with, I thought there was a shoulder injury, so thank you for reminding me about that. Maybe that's playing a role here because Allen's been terrible throwing the ball deep the last 2 weeks. Maybe we need another week to see if it was the weather and the matchups. But that did scare me a little bit.
There's also a change coming. They're now going to probably run a lot more 11 personnel because they're down Dawson Knox. And so maybe there's a few different routes coming for Gabe Davis. We saw that at one point earlier in this year. So hopefully that'll be the case, that there's some more opportunities. Like we could just sit here and say the obvious. Well, it's just more coming for Dalton Kincaid. Well, there's more coming for probably Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and maybe Khalil Shakir as well. So there's going to be how the targets are dispersed and how they use Gabe Davis might change. And so that could be a big benefit for him. So you just treat him as a number 3 receiver. Now you could compare him to a lot of guys in that range, players that have come on, Josh Palmer, Raji Rice, Josh Downs. There's certainly different directions you can go depending on the format you're in and what the rest of your team looks like and what you need. Because if you need a big week from a certain player, Gabe Davis can deliver that. If you don't and you want a safer floor, then you go a different route. But I think Heath has it nailed and has it nailed for the last 2 seasons. You just put him in your lineup and hope for the best.
I'm not putting him in my lineup. I mean, like I'm starting.
Well, who are you putting him over him?
If you want to know specifically, I will tell you in one moment.
I want that. Here, I'll give you a stat. The Bucs have allowed 5 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. 4 of the 5 have been on deep balls.
Oh, crap. I might have to start him. So my 3 receivers in this league are Keenan Allen and Puka Nacua, which are easy, and Josh Palmer. I'm starting Josh Palmer over him.
I would do that too.
For sure.
My 4th one is Christian Watson. Christian Watson's my flex right now, and I can't. I can't. I have to start. Yeah, I mean,
the worst quarterback.
I don't know if I have. Well, I don't know if Watson's going to play. Right, so I got to start as of now.
Exactly.
But if you told me Watson was playing, like if he practices in full today or something like that, that would be a tough decision for me. But I'll probably just go Gabe Davis.
Narrator, he will not practice in full.
Yeah, he will. But if he practices in full on Thursday, on Thursday, it might. But I will go Gabe Davis, I think, because it's not like Watson is so reliable. Sorry, let's move on. James Cook. Jamie, starter sit James Cook.
You start him as a low-end number 2 running back and hope that he's more involved in the passing game without Dawson Knox there.
Mm-hmm. I'm so annoyed that I have to put Gabe Davis in my lineup after all those stats. Would you start James Cook or Jonathan Taylor?
Taylor.
Yeah, I'm going to make that move right now. Taylor.
James Cook or Derrick Henry?
I have Henry 1 spot higher.
Cook and PPR.
Yeah, I think it's Cook and PPR. That Titans offense could be a complete train wreck.
Henry is facing the Falcons this week. James Cook or Bijan Robinson?
Bijan.
Yeah.
Bijan.
And we'll do one more. James Cook or DeAndre Swift? All right, we'll do 2 more. James Cook or DeAndre Swift and Joe Mixon.
Swift easy.
Is anybody considering DeAndre Swift over James Cook at this point?
No. Okay, fine. James Cook. Well, I feel like Swift's come down to earth a little bit.
He has, but he still has more upside than Cook.
James Cook or Joe Mixon?
I'll take Cook.
Yeah. Mixon's at San Francisco. Cook 3 cooks in the kitchen. All right, finally, Dalton Kincaid. Would you start Kincaid over Waller, Pitts, Goddard? Guys who are starting to look a little bit better than they did a few weeks ago. Would you start him over any of the guys that we thought were must starts?
No. I think I like that he's going to have what should be an expanded role without Knox there, without Quentin Morris there. What I've seen from him this year is that he's a zone beater. So short area target who can find space underneath for Josh Allen to dump off to. And Josh Allen really hasn't been a dump off type of quarterback, but maybe because of the shoulder, he's starting to lean into it a little bit more. That's what last week would tell me. And the type of defense that the Bucs tend to play, they blitz a lot and they play zone coverage behind. It's actually a perfect mix for Kincaid. So I would take the chance on him as a top 12 tight end, but anybody that you drafted as a starting tight end should easily go ahead of him. The one that I'm grappling with is Dalton Schultz versus Dalton Kincaid. I'm right back where I was on Tuesday between the two of them.
Pitts is the one I struggle with, but right now I've got Pitts over Kincaid, but that's a tough one for me.
I have Pitts over Kincaid as well. I have Schultz over Kincaid for this week as well.
Yeah.
I think you just look at the Bucs have been great against tight ends.
That's true.
The schedule that they've played and the guys that they've basically eliminated are fantastic. So like for Pitts, for example, they just lost a key member of their secondary. The Titans have his opponent. So I like the setup for him better. And I think Schultz, I know we have a concern about Tank Dell coming back, but the Panthers I just don't think are very good. And they're down Jeremy Chin as well.
I am worried the tight end targets for the Falcons go to Jonnu Smith for the revenge game.
It's a coach revenge game, so he may just want to have his best game. Hopefully,
Tampa Bay, they are 12th against tight ends, but it's been Hawkinson 35 yards, Kmet 38, Dallas Goedert 41, Sam Laporta 36 yards on 11 targets, Kyle Pitts 47 yards, and none of them have caught a touchdown. So they've played. I'm gonna guess they've played the toughest tight end schedule, and they haven't given up a touchdown yet. Although they haven't faced Kelsey or Andrews, but they face a lot of really good ones. All right, Buffalo's DST is kind of all over the map. Let me just make sure I have it updated here. 16th for Jamie, 10th for Dave, and 6th for Heath. Tampa Bay is 18th.
That low?
As of now, yeah.
Oh, that's a mistake.
All right. All right, we'll take a break. Oh, Dave, that's it for Bills and Bucks.
Na.
Ah. When we come back, Fantasy Cops and your emails and tweets. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
The group stage continues, with Italian staples taking on Champions League debutants and what's sure to be an unrelenting battle between Celtic and Atletico Madrid on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+.
Yeah, here we go. The Fantasy Cops are back, settling your league disputes. If you have any emails, any questions, you can send them to fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. And if you, Heath, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you have any Fantasy Cops questions, just put Fantasy Cops in the subject line. This one is from Randy. It says, Dear Rex, Mitch, Justin, and Jay. Rex, Mitch, Justin, and Jay.
Sounds like Bears quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, I should have gotten that.
Bears fan knows that.
Does
And
this
our-
Randy hate his keyboard?
What's that?
Does this Randy hate his keyboard?
I don't get that. Inside joke?
Yep.
Okay. An hour before game time on Sunday, a player in my league dropped Tony Pollard to pick up Deontay Foreman, with plenty of other options to drop on his bench, by the way, all of whom were on a bye. Instantly, notifications were sent out to the league that Pollard was now up for a waiver claim. The entire league put out a waiver claim for him, including me, the commissioner, who happened to also be playing the team who dropped Pollard this week. And I had the upcoming first waiver claim. The initial team who dropped Pollard didn't say anything about the drop until other league members said in our league chat, said something in our league chat. He then said it was a mistake to drop Pollard. Okay, maybe honest mistake. I get that. But he never said anything until the league went crazy and others said something. Now he wants Pollard back and also wants to keep Deontay Foreman, who picked when he dropped Pollard. And I would have to pick someone else up for my first round waiver claim. I put it to a league vote and it was split 50-50. Should I A, give him back as the commissioner and take someone else as my first claim? B, should I tell him he can keep one or the other, Foreman or Pollard? And by the way, he beat me with all the points that Foreman scored. Or B, should I say, nope, his loss and take, or C, I should say. C, should I say, nope, his loss and take Pollard?
First of all, Jamie, incredible joke. It was like a grenade for me. It took me about 10 seconds to get it. Second of all, I like B. Have him make a choice, but he's got to make it like now because we're already on to the next week. You can have Pollard back, but you don't get Foreman with him. And that's if I want to be a benevolent commish.
Okay, Dave, I have a follow-up for Dave. Does he get to keep the points that Foreman scored and get the win?
Yeah, but then he doesn't get Pollard back.
So wait, the commissioner did end up getting Pollard?
Yeah, well, yes. Or yes. I don't know if it probably happened after he emailed me, but assuming it was tonight or last night when the waivers ran, yes, he would have gotten Pollard.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. He dropped Pollard for Foreman and then he waited days
No.
to bring it up to the
He dropped
league?
him on Sunday.
I don't know when he brought it up, but he brought it up after everyone was in an uproar about it, which kind of makes sense to me because maybe he just didn't realize that he dropped Pollard. And then he saw the text messages and was like, oh, wait.
Oh,
oops.
dude. If it's been days and now he's bringing it up, I'm changing my answer.
No, I
not
don't think
keeping
it's
Foreman.
I think your answer was right, though. I think he's got to make a choice. And that's it. If he's going to say that he made a mistake in dropping Pollard, then that's fine, but you don't get Foreman. Or you're just stuck with Foreman.
I really hate the idea of going back and changing the score of
Right.
either way, the commissioner gets Pollard or he gets a free victory because the guy loses Foreman's points if he gets Pollard back. So if the commissioner is going to get a benefit out of this either way, I think it should just stay.
When's the last time anybody here made an honest mistake with an ad drop in your league and waited days to ask for a
I
correction?
don't know why you're assuming he waited days. That is not in this email. He waited until there was an uproar from the group, which happened
Right.
immediately.
Adam, I don't think
It could have been.
cons-
It could have been 3 a.m. when the waivers
I
ran.
don't know when it was. It could have been days, but that was Sunday. You know, he sent this on like Tuesday. I just want to say, I remember in a podcast league 5-ish years ago, I dropped Tyreek Hill accidentally. I made a waiver claim on Tuesday. I dropped Tyreek Hill and I said, my bad. I hit the wrong name. I'm giving myself Tyreek Hill back. So if I were the commissioner, what I would honestly do, and this is like probably everyone's going to disagree with this, I would just, he didn't mean to drop Pollard. He meant to drop someone else for Foreman. I would just execute that transaction, give him Foreman, give him back Pollard, and find someone else on his bench to drop that he meant to drop. That's what he meant to do. This has created way too much confusion and controversy. Just do what was supposed to happen. Give him back Pollard, let him keep Foreman, and make the ad drop that that guy intended to make on Sunday. That's what I would do.
How do you know what that was intended to be? What if it was somebody who got hurt?
Well, he said he had plenty of other options to drop on his bench who were also on bye. So what if you want to pick one of the other guys? Like don't drop CeeDee Lamb if that was an option. But like obviously the guy was going to make a logical choice to drop someone for Foreman. He accidentally hit Pollard. Like don't change so much in the league because this guy made a mistake. Just do what he intended to do. That's
but now,
so let me ask you a real life scenario, because I told you this the minute that it happened. I told you I didn't intend to drop Royce Freeman. That I was intending to drop Mecole Hardman, and I made a mistake, and I dropped Freeman because I was going through it quickly, and I dropped Freeman instead of dropping Hardman. And I told you that. I said I'm not telling you this because I want to make a switch. I was just telling you to make fun of myself for being an idiot. As the commissioner, would you have given it back to me if I was complaining?
Yes, I would have.
That's easy though, especially if it's in right after it happened.
Right.
And you haven't actually played a fantasy game yet.
Does anybody disagree with me? Does anybody think that I'm wrong?
I think you're setting a terrible precedent for others in the league to potentially take advantage of.
By dropping Pollard? Like, obviously it was a mistake.
But you're giving this guy the best of both worlds. You're letting him keep Pollard.
No, I see what Adam's saying. Adam is saying that
I do too.
If he's first on waivers, he was going to pick up Foreman regardless. He was going to drop Joe Schmo and still would have kept Pollard on his team. He would have played Pollard. He would have played Foreman regardless because that was his best bet of the guys he had available to him. So yes, it does sound like it's not his mistake, but it apparently is something that the league is not happy with.
Yeah,
of course.
You just can't have somebody dropping Tony Pollard in week 8. Like it just changes the league too much, and it was an accident. But I don't think we have any consensus here. So sorry. The Fantasy Cops will be back for Oscar here. Let's hope we can help Oscar a little bit more. Oscar says, let's see. Oscar says, I'm the commissioner of a 12-team half PPR league. We're in our 16th year. We recently switched to a new platform where I thought we had all of our settings correct. But this past weekend, my opponent and I realized that teams were receiving +2 points for fumbles by players, -2 points for fumbles lost by players. So if a player just fumbles, he loses 2 points. If a player fumbles and it's recovered by the other team, it's actually a 0 because he gets 2 points for the fumble and he loses 2 points for the.
So Alexander Madison's killing this team.
Yeah, exactly. In the end, the error did not impact our end result. But had the error helped me achieve victory, I would have changed it to a loss because I feel I can't benefit from my own error. The issue at hand is that one game result was impacted by the scoring change. A team had Jared Goff, who fumbled twice, and he lost one of the two. He went from +2 points net for the 2 fumbles to -2 points net for the lost fumble. That's a 4-point change in his score. Of course, he was in the lead by 3.98 points before the scoring change, and he ended up losing by 0.02 after I made the scoring change. The Goff manager is obviously upset. His season's not going so well. The winning team would like a league vote to determine if the scoring change should even be done at this point in the season, which could nullify his win. He also added that I think he said, no, the scoring change does not retroactively change any results, but it will reduce players' scores, obviously. So it looks like this is the only game that would be affected by the scoring change. What do you think? Should we fix it? Should we give this Goff manager the loss?
The win.
Keep it?
You got to keep it. If you made the mistake and you played several weeks with the situation being what it is, like you said, you're going to go back and change all the scores. How's that could impact the playoff scoring?
Of course it could.
Like tiebreakers?
If you're going to do that, though, I don't think you should change the rule moving forward either. And it just
the rule is for this season. It is what it is.
Yeah. I think that's the most fair thing to do.
Why?
Because you can't change the rules midway through the season
Yes, you can.
and not let it impact anything that happened before.
You certainly can't change 1 week's results, but not impact the first 5 weeks results or the
Yes,
first
agreed.
6 weeks results. Like
Yeah, I agree.
you're just saying this one guy, like Don has the right answer.
This league needs a coup.
Keith wants chaos.
This is a tough one for me, I think, because it's such an obvious rule to change. Nobody wants this rule. Nobody even knew about it, it seems. So I would make the change going forward at the very least. Because no one's going to argue. Who's going to be like, no, I want points for fumbles, right? So I would make the change going forward at least. Going back, if this is the only game that's actually the result is being changed, I probably would not do it. I would probably
But
wait.
it's not, though. It could. I mean, if it comes down to one team has 3 or 4 points more to get into the playoffs, if that's a tiebreaker.
But that's the way the scoring should have been. So don't you think
I get that.
that's what their rightful point total should be? And they should have that instead of these weird.
You're saying you're changing all of the results for the first 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
I
that's
think those are the only options you have.
That's understandable,
It's an
but I
option.
think you just let it ride for the rest of the season because it's a commissioner error, and what can you do?
It does seem like Adam, you are the official that wants to be on TV when you're the commissioner. Like every time the Adam's response is, how can I do the most? What's the most impact I can have with this
So
decision?
you're saying like if we were doing like live play-by-play during a game, Adam would be our official. He'd be Gene Steratore.
Yes.
I don't have the guns to be official. My sleeves were long sleeves. But no, I mean, if we had played in a league that was we drafted thinking it was PPR, and then for the first 5 weeks it was non-PPR and nobody realized it, hypothetical, of course we would have realized it. Wouldn't you want the commissioner to go back and make the actual scoring for the entire league because we drafted that way, like for the entire season? Wouldn't you want to be rewarded with PPR points?
Or you keep it the way that it is, and now you're in a non-PPR league.
Why would I do that? I drafted to be in a PPR league, and I drafted this league to lose points on fumbles, not to gain points.
It sounds like something that you should put to a league vote. How about
Just
this
leave
as a
it the way it
possible solution? Possible
Leave
solution.
it alone.
Change the scoring back to how it should have been. Make this game a tie between those two teams. I don't know if I love this one.
Oh.
I don't know if I love that. But if you make it a tie between those teams, it's one game, there's one tie, and then everything else moving forward, fumbles are worth 0, lose a fumble.
You're not getting a loss. You're not getting a win. I'm going to make my own rules. You get a tie.
I think
Okay, so you don't like that one. The league might be okay with it. I don't know if I love it either.
I think the compromise, maybe we'll agree with this. The compromise is leave everything as is and make the change going forward.
That's the one I like the least.
Beginning in week 8. What? Okay, fine, Dave. You know what, Dave? Speaking of things you like the least, I'm going to play us off with a little ditty here. This has been Fantasy Football Today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Have a good one.